Hi folks, ProCare here with the third of our three-part series, Delegate to Win. We're going to talk to you about what you have to do to add over $1 million a year in revenue to your dental practice without spending a lot of money or changing your office infrastructure. So let's get into it. It's an exciting presentation. Folks, if you haven't watched the previous two videos, I strongly suggest you do it because we'll be going fairly quickly here. It's a photo of me, Kadir Ahmed. I talked about our team's track record, 5 consecutive times building multi-billion-dollar businesses from scratch that you've heard of every day. Another 6 times record-breaking growth. So 11 times we've done what we're proposing to do for you. So let's talk about what we're doing for you. We told you in the first video, we're here to improve the quality of dental care by paying millions of dollars more to dentists who are interested in doing the same thing. We said to you that basically your independent dental practice is designed to lose millions a year to companies that are larger than you and that tell you what to do. So we're going to show you how to fix that by delegating 3 activities which will add back your wealth and power while improving the quality of care that you provide. So if you want to think of it as a trade, think of you as offering us your highest quality or standard of dental care and your willingness to continue to get better to improve it, and think of us as offering you wealth and power in return. So it's a swap of Q for WP. The wealth comes from the fact that there's over $15 billion in the dental system in North America that frankly doesn't go to dentistry. So we're just putting that back to you by allowing you to offer a service to patient groups, and that gives you a lot of power. So if you want to think about that trade in another way, you do 2 things particularly well, but you have to have the humility to understand that, some folks have spent as much time becoming brilliant at business the way you've become brilliant at dentistry. And so you don't control sales to patient groups. And because of that, you don't actually control the dominant profit center in your industry, which is the underwriting surplus driven by insurance companies. So we attack that surplus for you, from which you get nothing today. Suddenly you revalue your practice, you revalue your life. So you focus on what you do well, you delegate to us for the stuff that you don't do particularly well. And the nice part about it is the cost of this delegation is $300 a month. If you're wondering how we get paid, we have fees to you to make sure you're serious about the process, which are pretty low, and that's a key reason to use us. But really what we're interested in doing is changing how 175 million people in North America buy dental insurance. Every $10 we earn in that process per year is $1.8 billion in revenue. And when you think about billions of people around the world for whom North America is just a warm-up act, look, we do quite well, and you do quite well if we work together. So the first service we talked about was purchasing, where you're going to give us about $450 to $600 a year, and you're going to save about $30,000 a year over the reasonable time period. So it's a good trade. Main thing, though, is it's going to give you a lot more business credibility and give you an understanding of how powerful intelligent delegation is. So we talked about the fact that you're spending too much on purchasing and supplies, and this is hurting your business credibility and, frankly, charging patient groups more than they need for something you don't benefit from. So the issue is, of course, you're small and the people who supply you are large, and so how do we fix that? So in any business process, you got to walk before you run, but we wanted to give you a taste of what running looks like. Essentially, you're going to map out over a 2-year period of time, all the categories in a dental office, and you're going to decide, are you brand centric? In other words, are you addicted to certain types of product because you have to have them? Or are you really mainly in this category concerned about price? And then you're going to get a huge stream of data that we've put on the screen there to allow you to optimize that price. This is going to take over 2 years to do because we're not going to stop and shut down your dental practice to interrogate you to do it. And the 2-year goal we wanted to show you, but also you need to know what's going to happen tomorrow morning. And so tomorrow morning you need to start by saving money, and so you can start to see the process work. So there's 2 tiers in dentistry. There's manufacturers who make the product and distributors who sometimes buy from the manufacturer and sell to you. So we're going to start by capturing a chunk of your current supply spend, targeting manufacturers of 4 items who deliver that, and engineering immediate savings that are far more than the cost of the service. So you get some momentum, you get excited about the overall process. As the program grows, we then add more and more categories, and we'll deal with the distributors. So we look at a typical dental product when it does pass through the distributor supply chain. Now, we've got a way to deal with manufacturers directly when they don't use a distributor, but we'll just talk about that in a second. So typically they buy the product, the distributor will, at $1. They mark it up by 56 cents. You're paying $1.56 as a dentist. We can take the manufacturing cost down to 74 cents from that original dollar, and now you're already saving 25 cents. We've also got a distributor in place that will reduce their margin, so overall you save substantially. So as we've said, the prices for the services are trivial. You pay $100 a month if you want to pay month to month, but like really, guys, essentially what we would suggest you do is pay $600 for 1 year as a lump sum, which is $50 a month, or $900 for 2 years, which is $37.50 a month. There's virtually no way that we could visualize you saving less than $37.50 a month, so the service pays for itself. In the trials that we've done, people are already saving several $1,000s a year with just distributor price cuts, let alone manufacturers. So we'll get you to a full procurement solution, $30,000 a year in savings. The main thing you need to do is give us the information that we ask for, which starts out with 4 items and a category survey with the brands that you like, and then we roll across to more items as you start to see more savings. So to sum up, we're going to build you a world-class procurement capability that you delegate to us on the fly. We're going to do it one step at a time. Each step is going to pay you a lot more than it costs you. And, over time, you should save $30,000 a year, spending $450 to $600 to do it, with separate price cuts from manufacturers you like and distributors. Worst case scenario, our fees are so low that you can do some of your purchasing through this overall program and keep the other suppliers that you have honest, and that's entirely up to you. So the home run product, of course, wasn't purchasing. It was a group patient acquisition where you start to make money like an insurance company. So the idea here is you spend $3,000 to $5,000 a year to earn $1 million plus and control what used to be the insurance industry as we know it. So what you're doing is you're selling a risk management service. You're hiring us to do that for you since you don't have the time or the experience. And we're selling your risk management service to patient groups so that you can pick up the underwriting profit that right now you get nothing from today. Your fees don't change. None of that part of it changes. You're adding a profit center that is the most lucrative in dentistry. You don't need to be a genius to understand why patient groups are going to buy what we sell, provided we can talk to them. Today, patient groups are in a system where every year they pay more for coverage, but every year they get less coverage. This chart shows you what patient groups have been paying each year for dental coverage. So the last chart showed you how premiums rise on average 6% a year under the current system, but the claim cap that individual patient groups and individual patients get has been flat for decades. So once you take inflation out of that, you can see that, in fact, the amount of dentistry that people are able to buy, while their premiums have been going up, the amount that they're able to buy goes down. So it's a pay more, get less, measure nothing system. Now we're going to show you the reason why the system works the way that it does, and it's pretty simple. It's hard to manage what you can't measure, and that's actual patient risk. This pie chart shows you how the current system works. Your fees come out of the 2 slices of the pie that are on the left-hand side and center, the hygiene liability, the true dental risk. Without changing your fees, you don't get anything from the underwriting surplus on the right-hand side. That's the difference between the 175 million people who pay in advance for dentistry and what is released from that advance to individual dentists for care. The underwriting surplus exists because of risk. Basically, insurance companies and self-funded plans have to set aside money on the possibility that everybody's going to need procedures that are far more expensive than they are budgeted for, and that's why the system works the way that it does. You're going to change the way that risk is managed in order to participate in revenues that you never otherwise would have had while keeping your fees the same. Here's the pie chart on our system. The left-hand side is the same. Your fees are the same for dental risk and liability. You got a rollover, which was coming out of the previous underwriting surplus. That's money you never saw. That's how you control pricing and get it down every year. The rest of the underwriting surplus gets divided between primary and secondary risk assessment. This is money you never previously saw. Secondary risk assessment is just randomized document verification to make sure the protocols were followed on the primary risk assessment. A dental student could do that, let alone an experienced dentist. Primary risk assessment is figuring out what's going to happen to the patient over an extended period of time. Whether you can do that or not, we've got people that can, and as a result, all of you participate in the underwriting surplus. So you can see under our system that basically insurance goes from a risk exercise to a scheduling exercise, which is much more of a group benefit. That allows insurance companies not to have to backload their profits, which is what they're forced to do under the current system, which means there's even a win in what we're doing for them, let alone everybody else in the industry. The patient group gets declining premiums, greater coverage, and for the first time ever, the ability to measure, manage, and improve the overall health care of its group of people. In dollars and cents, the chart on the left shows you a typical dental office, which only makes money from patients they can physically see. That's $1 million a year for a typical office, $500,000 if you're smaller, and $1.5 million if you're larger. The second bar shows you what happens when you're doing patient revenue like normal, and you're also providing this consulting service for patients you don't physically see. And that's where you're generating another $800,000 a year, and you haven't added anything to your clinical staff. You're still treating the same number of patients. The chart on the right is true in the maximum situation where you're doing primary risk and secondary risk, and that's where you've tripled your revenues in your practice without adding much to your infrastructure. You're hiring ProCare then as your sales representative to work with employer groups to sell a superior dental program. What you're doing is actually participating in the risk analysis revenue from that program. You're paid about $100 a plan, and it's an annuity that continues to roll to your benefit. So if you had a large group of, say, 1 million members, one group could generate $200 million in fees. You don't have the capacity to analyze 1 million members, even on a randomized basis, and so we spread the fees out by spreading the workload out among a reasonable number of dentists to execute the job. So that's it. You're basically selling a service and you're participating in revenues. If you're qualified to do primary risk analysis, your revenues double. Your break even on this is 50 or 60 patients, let alone the million or so that are in an individual group. You're hiring us for anywhere from $250 a month to $500 a month for your legitimate shot at $1 million on the other side. The difference is simply based on how many months in advance you buy. The logical thing to do is to buy 2 years at $6,000 because you can't hire a decent sales rep for $6,000 a month, let alone 2 years. And essentially, we sell the risk management service on your behalf, and it generates a yield. It's extremely difficult to see how this returns less than 6 or 7 times what you pay for it. We always tell people to give things 2 years to triple the value of your practice, but at the same time, realistically, there are individual patient groups that have millions of members where one sale basically satisfies thousands of dentists. So the barrier to success is actually pretty low. And we're saying to people, pay less, get more, measure everything. And there are hundreds of benefits consultants who are approaching small and medium-sized companies who need something new to say. So again, it's not a particularly complicated process when the product is this well designed. Our third service is for folks that want to put some cash in their jeans right now off the increase in practice valuation. So we talked earlier about tripling the value of your practice using a higher multiple. If we present to equity sources to allow you to do that and deliver that increase in value, we'd like 20 to 30% of the increase that we generate for you. As we said to you in previous presentations, there are 3 multiples or 3 valuations on every office in dentistry. The corporate dental chain gets 4 times the multiple that a typical independent office does. What we're going to do is drive your independent office to that corporate multiple while you stay completely independent. Show you in pictures what we said in words. Typical office valued at $1 million independent. If it had the multiple of a group practice, which had, say, 3 to 7 locations, that same $1 million office is suddenly worth about $1.7 million. And if it has what we're looking to achieve, which is the large group multiple, as a result of the services that we're offering, you're suddenly worth about $3.4 million on the exact same production. To break even on what we're doing, you need about a 1% lift in practice value, which is not hard to achieve. If you're using our other 2 services, you have a contractual way to increase revenues and decrease costs, unlike an independent dental office, so you get a higher value. We'll charge you nothing up front to make that case to the equity markets, and 20% of the lift off your last appraised value, which you can do just before we get started. If you have your own independent means of increasing revenues and decreasing costs, we can still act on your behalf with the equity markets, but that'll cost you $3,000 a month for 3 months, plus a higher chunk of the lift, since we have to sort of take your word on it. And that's basically the service. So folks, that's it. Go to procaredent.com/buy. Pick one service, pick them all. At the end of the day, we both know you have hundreds of dollars a month, particularly if you got millions on the other side. You already know that the biggest profit center in your industry is insurance, and you've never had a way to tap the underwriting surplus that is how insurance companies make money. No one's ever come to you to deliver you that capability to you at all, let alone at the prices that we're talking about. But the reason we're doing it is we're fixated on quality of care, not just in dentistry, but in the broader healthcare industry. So watch the videos, understand what we're doing, and buy the services. I don't really need to scream at you like a faith healer to point out the value that's being created. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and we wish you the best of success in everything that you do. Good night for now.